Service design to me means choreography more than anything else. When I think about the environment that we move about, or the various design disciplines that we interact with or that I've been in over the years, we tend to talk about things in terms of ownership. But the reality of service design and the power of service design is that where there isn't ownership of any given discipline, be it proper design or technology or people or risk or process, it doesn't really own anything. But what it does is it has the guardianship of the relationship between all the elements that go into creating or supporting the provision of a service. And so that's what it means to me. Connecting the dots, putting together and connecting decision-making points and points of impact throughout the system, and really having both the bird's eye view and the detailed view of what customer, businesses, and people want. So Lloyds has embraced service design from day one. When I was brought in about a year and a half ago, there was no service design capability in Lloyds. I was service designer number one with an explicit brief to create capability and develop it inside the organization. At the moment, the team is about 70 individuals, and we're looking to hire in even more, or as we like to say, attract even more talent into the organization. And I think that there is an incredible openness towards the possibility that using a service design approach unlocks for the organization as a business entity, but also for the colleagues that are inside the organization. It helps them feel validated in the work that they do. It leverages their understanding of our customers. It draws on their experience of the business and the work that needs to be done. And it's effectively amplifying the power of the entire organization and our colleagues to make a positive impact for our customers. Service design has to go across the entire organization. Of course, you want some discipline leadership, like you want it for everything else. You want to have people that know what they're doing and they've done it for a long time. But the reality is that if service design, much like, any design discipline, isn't embedded through the organization and doesn't permeate everything that we do, it has no chance of succeeding. It's not a desk activity. It's based on science. It's based on technology. It's based on psychology. It's based on all those elements that go into the provision of a service, irrespective of the industry. And so it has to be a systemic approach to designing services for positive outcomes. It all starts with a word that is often incredibly abused, which is empathy. Fundamentally, when we think about organization, we tend to extract the humans from the organization itself. But the reality is that we have collections of people that have a really profound expertise in, any given subject matter. And we rock up as designers, dressed differently, speaking differently, waving post-its and markers, and we expect that people get on board. So the first step, I think, to breaking down those organizational silos is to understand that we're dealing with humans that think and think of the world in a different ways. So it's all about creating a bridge between a world that we as designers might not know very well, and so listening and drawing on the expertise of our colleagues, and at the same time trying to educate them and accompany them on a journey that's radically different from everything that they have experienced. I do believe that as service designers, we're uniquely positioned to help everybody see the systemic nature of an organization. So when you abandon your silos and get a bird's eye view of the reality in which you operate, you cannot unsee the connections anymore. And so this is what we use. We use a design approach to help our colleagues see themselves not just as part of a business vertical or horizontal, but as part of the entirety of the system where their tiny little slice used to be before. It'd be tempting to point at examples, specific examples. The reality is that we permeate everything. And so everything that comes out of Lloyds as a whole is indirectly or directly connected to the work that the team does. And I do feel that it's time to stop pointing fingers and taking credit for individual examples. We're one organization. Everybody contributes in different ways. And I feel it would be a little unfair to claim the credit for something specific when really without all the other teams that go into helping us understand the problem space, helping shape the problem statement, design, workshop, brainstorm, and then build and deliver, it would be a little unfair to just say we did that. So the value conversation is a conversation that we've had for a long time. On one hand, we have a framework that we use that's been developed in-house by a number of colleagues drawing from different disciplines. But it's all about shifting from thinking in terms of targets to meet to thinking in terms of outcomes that we want to support. The reality is that any financial services institution like we are, but most organizations out there are not in the business of making products. They are in the business of supporting outcomes, providing services to support outcomes. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, today is the day I get a mortgage. People wake up in the morning excited because they want a house, or they're going to get a car, or they're going to take their family on holiday. Or even when they buy products, it's about fulfilling an aspiration. If the problem was just not to get our feet dirty or stay warm, we would buy any shoe on the market. But no, we buy Nike as opposed to Adidas because they represent something for us. And so value varies very much. Of course, there is a value for the business and there is a value for the individual, but the measurement has to be recalibrated every time for every product and every service. We like to say that the magic happens at that point of intersection where the business goals and the team goals and the individual goals are met. That's the magic spot for us. But of course, you can't expect to give our secret recipe out to everybody, can you? Oh, I'm so tempted to answer with a question, define design thinking, because it's been used and abused in so many different ways. I think the service industry definitely leads the charge. I mean, there are or is devoting a lot of energy to thinking in terms of what matters to the user, and that's what design thinking really is to me. Transportation comes to mind. If we think, and those are the spaces where we've seen the most what we call disruption, which is a word that I don't particularly like because it has some sort of negative connotation, but probably better than innovation, if you will. So I would say that companies like Uber, just not, to be very banal, Uber, Airbnb definitely have made a huge difference. In terms of the industries that could use a systems thinking approach, what industry can't? I think we're really far away from an optimal state, and it's a good thing. You always want the tension so that you're going to be pushed to better your offering, better your services, better your products. Taking over the world, of course. That's it. That's it.
Excellent.